All right, welcome, all of you, few of you. This is the typical Friday morning Dreamforce session. I always have mixed feelings about the end of Dreamforce. I'm usually very tired, kind of happy it's over, but also sad to see all of our customers leaving. My name is Sean Whiteley. I'm leading the session today. We've got a great small panel for you, small business, small panel. But small business is big business, and I got to catch up with a few of you before the session, and I think there are kind of various interests. This is my 5th Dreamforce. I actually have had 2 as a customer. I was a small business owner before I worked at Salesforce. I founded a company in 2006 that integrated Salesforce, CRM, and Google AdWords. We were a very small business, 4 people, in fact. And we were actually acquired by Salesforce 2 years ago, and the product is now called Salesforce for Google AdWords. Prior to that, I was at another small business called Grand Central Communications. And prior to that, I was at very, very large enterprises. And one of the great things about working at Salesforce is that you can maintain a lot of autonomy. If you find something you're interested in and you're passionate about, you can stick to it. So I sort of spent half of my life in R&D. Building the small business products, so the Contact Manager Edition, Group Edition, and to some extent Professional Edition. I have an R&D crew that works on those products. I also spend half my time in product marketing doing all of our small business marketing. I also manage our big 4 cloud relationships, which are Twitter, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. So one of the things that I always sort of thought about as a small business is that, and I'm sure you all know this well, you can't throw people at every problem. I'm sure there are many of you out there who are probably wearing a lot of hats, as are these gentlemen up here. So the things that you really rely on are the information that you have, the systems that you have, as well as the processes that you have. They're super important. You have to be able to automate things because in the same day that you might be responsible for building pipeline or demand generation or lead generation, you could probably also be doing support at the same time in the same day. So what I want to talk about today is just how important it is to build that automation into your day-to-day that allows you to kind of focus more on your business and your day-to-day things that you need to do and focus less on maintaining your systems and actually doing things manually. So Tim Eads is with us today, and Tim is a great customer and he's the CEO of Everyone.net. He's going to talk about his company, and he has how many? Over 100,000 small businesses?
105,000 small businesses and with 23 people.
105,000. So Tim is the CEO, but I think he probably does a lot of things. Kevin Ackroyd is here as well. He's the COO and the CMO of Jigsaw. How many of you have heard of Jigsaw?
Oh, that's a good answer. All right. All right, good.
Great. So Jigsaw is an extremely innovative company that's actually breaking new ground in the area of data. And for those of you who have a small business, data is extremely important. We sort of learned this lesson the hard way when we were a search marketing company. What we were building is search marketing and search engine optimization for Salesforce.com. One of the things we got really good at was getting a lot of data and aggregating a lot of data into our system. Over time, what we realized is that we got really good at search marketing, but what we didn't realize is once the data goes into your system, it's kind of like rotting fish. If you don't pay attention to it, it's going to go bad. So we got really good at aggregating lots of hopefully targeted and relevant traffic to our web properties. We got really good at understanding what they wanted, getting them into our system, but what we really didn't do a good job of was sort of making sure that our data was accurate, complete, and that we maintained that data over time. And that was sort of one of the many lessons you learn as an entrepreneur. I'm not going to go through this because I think you all have it memorized by now. So we're going to start with how cloud as service solutions are changing the game for smart small businesses. There's so much technology and there's so many new things available to us today. Cloud computing, I'm sure everyone here gets that in terms of the things you're able to do as a result of the delivery model of the cloud. I'm sure none of you have the time to hire a lot of IT staff and buy hardware and software and upgrade and patch and maintain all of these systems. I think all of you that are in the room already get that. I'm not even going to talk about it. But some of the things that you can do today, I think just 2 years ago when my company was starting, the first service we bought was JotSpot. How many of you are familiar with JotSpot? So JotSpot it was one of the early wikis, and it's actually now Google Sites. They're acquired by Google, but it was basically the ability to. It's a powerful WYSIWYG editor and sort of a lightweight content management system. And when we were building our company, we wanted to get all of our ideas and all of our notes into basically what was an intranet, and we used JotSpot for that. We used Gmail for mail at the time. We used at the time QuickBooks to do all of our finance, QuickBooks Online. We used Salesforce, of course, CRM. We used Google AdWords. And what was interesting is that we were building a cloud computing application, and whenever we actually approached a service and someone wanted us to download something, we sort of banged our fists on the table and said, this is a violation of our, at the time, on-demand, what is now cloud computing, our sort of constitutional rights of a cloud computing zealot. So what we really want to talk about today is I'm going to have Kevin come up here next. And Kevin is someone that I've learned a tremendous amount from over the last year. I've been working with Kevin for about a year. His title is COO. And I think it's CMO, but there's probably a couple other C-level roles you could tag onto him. He does a lot in his day-to-day, and he really does run a substantial part of the business for Jigsaw. I hope you can learn a tiny portion of what I've learned from him over the last 6 to 8 months in working with him. And I think you'll probably pick up some good tips. Kevin?
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate coming on Friday morning to hear about data. You guys are brave. Very much appreciated. Real quick, I too, first half of my career was spent in Fortune 500 companies, big ones, $10 billion, 85,000 employees, and the second half of my career has been all SMB, including Jigsaw. We are definitely still a small business, trying to change that, but right now we are small and have kind of watched Salesforce grow. The last all four of them. I've been involved in 4 SMBs, and all 4 of them we were a Salesforce customer, including 9 years ago when these guys were a very small SMB too. It's kind of hard to think that 9 years ago these guys were smaller than most of you in the room probably. They were tiny, but they came off quick. So we've been working with them for a long time. And yeah, I'm the one throat to choke at Jigsaw. I kind of, my CEO gets to do all the fun stuff, and I get to do all the back office stuff. So I kind of feel passionately what we're going to talk about today. We've been around for about 5 years. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of this stuff. Growing fast, and the one point here is that we live, breathe, and eat a lot of what I'm about ready to talk to you guys about today. We apply it ourselves, and that's kind of when I do conferences like this. I tend to like to put that rubber wall around it. Don't get up and pontificate or preach vision or a lot of buzzwords that we don't apply back at Jigsaw to go drive our own small business. So I wanted to make sure, whether it is a very sophisticated implementation of Salesforce. We use it for service. We use it for professional services. We use it for sales. We use it for marketing. We use it for IT ticket solutions, help desk, et cetera. So we are an extensive user of both our own data, Salesforce, as well as all the stuff that I'm about ready to throw at you. So first about Jigsaw. Data as a service is something that you're going to, it gets thrown around a little bit right now. You're going to start hearing a lot more about it. And essentially, one of the things that we like to say is that we are data as a service, and we're doing to data what Mark Benioff did to software when he came out with Salesforce.com. The fundamental business is essentially it is a community. One of the analogies that people use is the Wikipedia of the data industry. So there's 1 million white-collar professionals, white-collar B2B professionals. About 1,500 people a day join Jigsaw. And what they do is they come and they actually add data. So you're a CEO of a small business. If you want to get the best data in the industry for free, you put on 100 business cards, and then you earn points to pull off 100 out of the 17 million that are now on Jigsaw. That's pretty much how it works. You give to get. You also earn royalty points. So when the other 1 million members buy the records that you put on, you continue to earn more and more and more free points. If she comes along, her salesperson is prospecting using Jigsaw, and she uses a record that you put in, and she finds something wrong. If she says, hey, Jigsaw, that's wrong, she gets her points or her money back. So you never pay for bad data on Jigsaw. And if she takes the time to correct it, not only does she get double her points, but those royalty points that you had shift over to her because you couldn't keep your own rotting fish, is that what you said? You couldn't keep your rotting fish clean. She had to clean it up for you, so she gets your royalty points. So does that make sense? Very, very simple, but very powerful. And companies like you use it for everything, for recruiting, for fundraising, for business development, for sales, for marketing, you name it. Good, high-quality data is kind of critical to everything, and especially in a small business, you kind of use it across the board. So that's what Jigsaw is. We are an SMB. I said that. In addition, over that million people, over 100,000 of them are registered as SOHO, small office or home office people. Over 80,000 of our corporate clients are small businesses, i.e., as defined by less than 100 employees. So we are a small business. We service hundreds of thousands of SOHOs, dozens of thousands of SMBs, and the data set itself that the community builds has about 3.5 million small and medium business executives and employees. So we certainly live, breathe, and eat the small business. So let's talk a little bit about, and this is really important, I get excited about this topic because as a small business owner, you really are in a position like never before to take advantage of this, right? So this isn't just buzz and hyperbole. It's good news if you're running a business because unlike even a few years ago, the amount of expense, capital, people, time, money to get yourself off the ground was extensive. And now, with everything going as a service or going into the cloud, you really get to avoid a lot of that because there's that commercial. There's an app for that, right? You can almost start saying, "Oh, there's a cloud for that." No problem. There's a cloud, or there's a cloud app there. So the fact that the computing, the infrastructure, the technology, the applications, all of the communities, networks, audience-specific, et cetera, everything's going. And as a design principle, you should almost think, okay, I've got to go achieve this. Now, where can I go into the cloud to go get it to save time, money, hassle, full-time employees, et cetera? Okay? So take advantage of the fact that this is happening. Examples of models that have really leveled the playing field. I've just thrown up a couple here. But you compare, Microsoft's OS to the millions of people that build and participate in Linux. eBay leveled the playing field. Salesforce did it in software. We are kind of doing it in the B2B data. So on the left-hand side, you've got big, big, expensive solutions that require expertise, staff, consultants, money, and time. On the right, you've little level. Whether you're a one-person shop or a 100,000-person shop, it doesn't matter. Everybody's got the same access to the same tools at the same time. Okay? Good example is Frank's Sports Shop in Brooklyn. Thickest accent you've ever heard is a customer. And when he wants to actually go sell sneakers to somebody, he's got one store instead of 11,000 stores. But does he have the exact same cost structure, the exact same access to 10 million sneaker buyers on the internet as even the biggest guys do? Yes, he does. So we kind of almost forget models like eBay, but they've been doing it for a long time where technologies like this really, really do level the playing field. And Frank can go compete with Walmart for 1 million shoe buyers in Brooklyn that are right there. So just one example. I'm not going to spend a bunch on this. Mark Benioff does this eloquently. He's been pounding it into you all week. I think you guys get it by now. The only thing that I will say is that the same thing is happening in data. The way you procure it, the way you have to store it, the way you have to manage it, the way you have to integrate it, the way you have to make it accessible, the way you put it into applications, all the things that Mark actually talks about for this entire week about the simplification with Force. Everything is happening the exact same way in structured B2B data. That's the point of these slides, and I won't belabor it since it is a Friday morning. I'm going to hop into some examples. So one, the fundamental building blocks of a business and a CRM database or any database, you need company data and people data. So the company data, which companies am I going to call on? Who do I sell to? What industry? Where are they geographically? Employee count, revenue count, ownership structure, the website, so I can do research, all that good stuff. You fundamentally have to start here, right? And it's expensive. Jigsaw started in June of 2008. We came out and we said, you know what? This stuff should be open. It should be transparent. It should be free. You should not have to pay for this. So unlike your counterparts in a Fortune 500 organization that spend with my competitors that sell this stuff are all big $1 billion to $3 billion publicly traded companies on the NASDAQ and on the New York Stock Exchange. And it's because they get literally on average $2 million a year for this basic company stuff. Jigsaw made it free 18 months ago, and to date, since we do that, we've had over 70,000 of my SMB customers have downloaded almost 500 million records into their systems, their Act, their Goldmine, their Outlook, wherever you want to do it, for free. So they've literally gotten that jump and taken that $1 million out of the equation, unlike the big brothers in the Fortune 500. Okay? So the best data, and data that's completely free. The people data, obviously, then you don't sell or market to businesses. You sell to the people, at them. You sell to procurement or to marketing or to sales, et cetera. And you also need to use people data to recruit, to go form partnerships, to go raise money, to go do everything. The people data is critical. Not only is Jigsaw the best, I explained to you the method. It's very, very high quality. The changes get updated in real time. So not only is it complete and really high quality, which is very important, but we brought a new model out there too. The traditional way, and why these competitors of mine that I mentioned are big billion-dollar giants, is because if you are out there, I'm going to pretend you're a financial services firm. You call on CFOs, VPs of finance, and controllers in area codes 415, 650, and 408. That's who you sell to, in companies that are over 500 employees. That's what my small and medium business does for a living, and those are the companies that I go chase. So you go get them out of Jigsaw, and if you want to go find the 10,000 controllers, VPs of IT, and CFOs in those companies, if you go buy from one of the old school models, you pay for that list every single time. You buy it, you get to do one phone call, or one direct mail piece, or one email push, and then if you want to do it again, you have to pay for it again. If you want to do it again, you have to pay for it again, over and over again. So the old model, which most of the large companies in the Valley still do, is if they want to mail that list of 10,000 CFOs, controllers, and VPs of finance, they will literally spend 12 times, and it's a real-world example, $45,000 a year just to touch those 10,000 prospects 12 times a year. With Jigsaw, you buy it once, and then you can hit it 50, 100, 150 times, unlimited deployment access, and you own it. So you spend $8,000 with Jigsaw to go talk to those prospects versus $45,000 the old way before Jigsaw came around. And then as you know, obviously what matters is who did you land and who do you get to keep into your Salesforce.com system. So from a cost to acquire, that Fortune 500 company is literally paying $19 to go acquire a name to put into Salesforce because they now own it. With Jigsaw, you paid 80 cents instead of 19 bucks. So take advantage of not only the quality and the dynamicism of the data, but the pricing models that are afforded. Because I don't have all that cost structure in my business to give the data out, I can pass on a very preferential financial model like this. Second one is automation and integration between things like data and Salesforce.com. You guys probably recognize and acknowledge that curve. You get a response, you get somebody that calls your business or responds to a direct mail piece, responds to an email campaign. That's the curve. If you get back to it in day one, there's your response rate. Day two, there's your response rate. Day three, see how fast that dips? Time really, really matters when you're out there trying to get sales and marketing messages out there. The large company, your VP of marketing, submits a request, goes into IT. They check and see if they've got it. They don't have it. They go out to a list broker. Or they go dig it out. There's process. There's check in, check out, et cetera, et cetera. Then they've got to turn it around, hand it back to somebody. It's got to go into the marketing ops person, to the sales ops person. It's got to get uploaded into a campaign management system, and then it goes out. You literally, when marketing or you, as the decision maker, wants to touch an audience and do a marketing campaign, it takes you 28 days even to just get the campaign out, or get something pulled out based on the response of the last one. So therefore, you're literally on that end of the response. You're blowing that 45 grand, and you're getting that kind of return for it, right? Versus with Jigsaw and Salesforce.com, it's literally integrated seamlessly. So if you're in AppExchange, it's literally real time, and you're pulling it right down. And even if you're in Jigsaw and then you're pushing out via our export functionality, you're literally anywhere between real time, instantaneously, and up to 3 days, depending on how much you're going to manipulate it. So guess what? If you're using people like Jigsaw integrated into solutions like Salesforce, you are spending $8,000 instead of the 45, and you're getting that kind of response rate instead of the stuff on the curve. So, does that make sense? Very simple, but incredibly powerful when you're out there. Every dollar counts, and that sale really matters. You need to give this kind of response rate, not that kind of response rate. Secondly, a lot of lead activity, if you're using things like Salesforce.com, comes in a variety of different ways. This is another very good example that we teach all of our small businesses to do, is learn what happens. In this very example, a Salesforce user gets a lead in. That lead happens to be a VP of IT in Bank of America Corporation. So somebody has just expressed interest to whether your direct mail campaign, the seller you have on the floor, whatever the case may be, you've just gotten a hot lead come in from an interested party with a certain title at a certain company. the people that use Salesforce and Jigsaw together, they go, oh, that's probably a leading indicator. I bet if I went into Jigsaw immediately and went and found the other 263 VPs of IT or like title in the other 17 divisions of Bank of America, and that is who I called or had my seller call or had my marketing list go down on, I bet you I would get better response and have a higher ROI on that dollar spent if I go chase these guys that I just found into Jigsaw and dumped into Salesforce than if I just go out there and look across the board. Okay? Another really good way to use the simple data set and the integration that is evident between Jigsaw and Salesforce. Another one is data triggers. Again, unlike the rotting fish syndrome, those million members do over 1 million updates in the database every month, the way I described, because you found something wrong, you didn't want to burn your points, you corrected it and took his royalty points. So with that kind of changing, and there's 30,000 new data records that go in every single day. So my small business customers say, okay, I want those VPs of finance, CFOs, and controllers in those area codes. Jigsaw, you tell me when another one hits the database. Every single day, as soon as another prospect that I actually care about in those company sizes, in those titles, hits Jigsaw, I want to know about it, and I want it to immediately go pop over in here to Salesforce and tell me that, hey, another one or another 10 or another 20 have just hit the database, so you know you've got another perfect sweet spot customer to talk to. So automated, happens in Jigsaw, shows up on your desk inside Salesforce.com. Okay? Big opportunity. And then we also monitor changes. So in this example, Dave, we've tracked him. He got input to the system when he was a manager in Armonk in IBM in New York. Then he got promoted to the director, and he moved to Summers, New York. Then he got promoted to VP. And he moved from New York to Southfield, Michigan. So he's got a new title, new address, new email, new phone number. And Jigsaw tells you that in real time. So if the Salesforce.com guy selling into Southfield, Michigan, all of a sudden had that pop up and say, oh, that guy just got a promotion, got more budget, got more title, got new address. He's probably somebody I actually ought to call today because he's probably one of my most likely prospects and ready to buy my product. Make sense? Take advantage of the real-time changes in the data as well. And then finally is the data quality. This is Sean's rotting fish. We look at rotting fish inside CRM databases all day, every day, in Salesforce and across the board. And the state of the rotting fish is bad. This is literally how bad. This is over 300 databases. And the small business kind of fits on the left column. The percent that's incomplete, meaning I'm missing things in the record, is literally over 90%. The percent that's actually dead, meaning that you've still got me 2 companies ago. You've still got me at R. Donnelly & Sons, and I haven't been there for a long time, but it's still in your database, is over 20%. And then the percentages of stuff that needs a facelift, the email change, the phone change, the address change, the title change, the URL change, whatever, is literally that high. And it just keeps getting stinkier and rottier if you let it sit there, right? And as your business grows and as your database grows, so does the rotten fish if you don't take steps to clean it. And that can be a huge anchor on the efficacy of growing your business if you allow the fish to rot and stick around in there. So Jigsaw actually has automated data management solutions inside. Whoops, we got a formatting error. Sorry about that. Unlike your Fortune 500 brothers who buy big expensive gear. They buy ETL and MDM and CDI tools, and they pay millions for the hardware and then the processes and the Accenture bill to go put it all together, just to put all the data together. They spend millions more formatting it and putting it all together and standardizing it so it can look, touch, and feel the same way. And then they start talking about data quality. So the average Fortune 500 attempt at fixing this problem takes a company 2 years. It costs over $5 million. It touches, to Sean's point, they have bodies to throw at it, and they sure do. They throw over 575 bodies at fixing this problem. And by the end of those 2 years, the stuff has been rotten up here in the front, and you got to start all over again. With Jigsaw and Salesforce, you literally, for $99 a month, one Salesforce admin takes about 2 weeks to configure this once, and then it happens every 24 hours inside the native app in Salesforce.com, and you never have to worry about it again. The fish literally gets flushed, cleaned, updated, scaled, and washed away every night, and it's clean and fresh when you log on to Salesforce.com again. So those are just some of the few ways that they sound simple, but if you do them, they are very, very, very impactful. So speed and automation are key. It does not take a lot of money, and use the tools. Like I said, take advantage of the cloud and use some of the tools that I've just described, as long as other ones, to really drive your business. All right? And I'm going to hand the floor over to Tim now.
Cool. All right. So my name is Tim Eads. I'm the CEO of a company called Everyone.net. We're a small business based in San Jose. I came in and joined the company about 18 months ago to kind of kick it in the backside and get the business moving a little bit quicker and accelerate it. So I've used Jigsaw since 2004, back when they were really, really small. And I used Salesforce.com since probably...
we were paying him to use this, not the other way around.
I used Salesforce.com since like 2001, 2002. And so I've used different products in different ways. And what we've done at our current place is different again. So when I first started using Salesforce.com, it was for Salesforce automation and doing basic forecasting at a public company called Phoenix Technologies. When I first started using Jigsaw ages ago, it was like, okay, helping sales guys find things that they couldn't do to navigate into a business. So, that wasn't enough for what we do now because it was, what I would refer to internally is not frictionless. We need to be much more automated. We have a business summary slide, but I have 23 people. I look after 105, maybe 108,000 small, medium businesses. I have one person in marketing, 3 people in sales, and I do all of their email, messaging, collaboration, or mobile products to about 2.2 to 2.3 million users. I have an 89% gross margin. I have a customer retention model. The average SMB lasts on my network about 4.9 years, and the cost of customer acquisition is about 4.5 to 4.7 months of monthly recurring revenue. So we're data freaks, and everything on the back end is automated, and I'll kind of take you through kind of what that is. Because without the automation, we wouldn't get the visibility in the business, and I'll tell you about how that works, to where to steer it, and we're moving incredibly fast. So, yeah, absolutely, we do creative focus segments from Jigsaw. We integrate all the feeds from Jigsaw into Salesforce.com. Because I have one guy in marketing, I can't allow him to get too involved in that, so I've trained my sales guys how to do basic email blasts to different categories. And they max out the number every single day. They rotate through and they do their own blast with adult supervision, I guess, with content, but that's about it. Because otherwise, obviously sales guys are like playing with knives. So we do audience-related messaging, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of hygiene. They blast it out. We know where that goes. We also have a support mechanism. And as you can imagine, you have 2 to 3 million users, and you only have, I think we have 3 people in support, and that's covering 24/7. You really need to know your support model and your across the model. So when a support issue comes in, they can either go to the application side of my business or the network side of the business based on if it gets that serious. So we have support for us, and we have link everything into that in a kind of collaborative way. And then we do revenue analysis and forecasting, but this is not in the traditional way. I mean, we did it at Phoenix where we all the sales guys update their stuff, and you do the sales stage and all that kind of stuff, right? Absolutely, we do that, but that's not enough for us to run the business at the granularity that I wanted to. So we have an integrated configuration system with our customers where we call it self-configure and self-consume. So if you're a small business, and let's say Kevin's running a small business and he's 25 people, and he goes, okay, you know what? I want archiving for these customers, for 5 of my users, and I want it 3 years. But these 10 users, I want 10. These 10 users, I want 3 months archiving. These people, I want mobile technology for. And he goes into his management console, right? Changes, goes, these guys, this is what they want. And he plays around, and it automatically integrates into his billing system, which we also own, rolls the numbers into the Salesforce.com, so now we know what that customer's going to be billed for and everything else. So the sales guy knows that customer's spending more money. This also works with the accountant. He takes the order process down, and that goes, actually, they no longer want 3 years archiving, they only want 1. So there's, it gives you the dial up and the dial down, and they're automatically provisioned. So Salesforce.com for us is fundamental, but we integrate it into much more than a CRM system. It becomes a system of record, and I'll take you through that. So what do? We're on-demand collaboration suite, integrating email services, delivery, archiving, all that kind of stuff, document sharing. When I took over this gig to go fix it last year, my mother rang me up, and she goes, so who do you compete with? And I said, well, Microsoft and Google. She's like, holy cow, how the hell do you do that? I said, well, you got to fight, and you got to know your channels, you got to know your customers, and you got to be intimate with your customers in a more interesting way. And we do that very, very well. So our growth strategy is driving value-added services into existing customers. So getting new services out to our customers and allowing them to buy it in an automated manner and integrate it back. Leverage collaboration to get new customers, increase our brand visibility because we rotated our brand model, and we have a channel. We're a SaaS company with a two-tier channel, so each level of the channel can change the configuration of the services. So if I said to you, okay, you want a 10-gig mailbox and 5-year archiving, you could change that configuration and price it based on your requirements of your user. And that's what we do. We're in 89 countries. We're 4 languages, 105,000 SMBs, roughly 2.3 million users, 23 people. Very, very, very efficient. I have one finance guy who's is a fully qualified guy, and one junior accounts clerk. That's all there is in the business. Everything's automated. So what do we have to do? We had to get this thing way past CRM, way past SFA, and get this data from people like Jigsaw, integrate it in, get the sales machine moving in an automated manner. And I can't afford to, my sales guys can't afford to go see anybody. If you look at the price points in which we deal, you can't afford to do it. So you need to be able to have, we had an integrated web campaign. People have to call in. The whole thing's automated. So we go frictionless capture on tracking of prospect and customer relationships and related revenue. So exactly what I said. We know who comes into our website, what they do, where they buy. If they go to the management console, they order more services. That is obviously updated in our provisioning system, into our bidding system, and actually kept a record of in Salesforce.com. If they come in through support organization because they have an issue for whatever, again, that's all we're updated. So, we look at the Salesforce.com as a system of record, as a status for the business for that particular individual company. So we have sales inquiries, web marketing, like I said, automatically go in, web purchases, because people come over the web and they just order over the web all the time. That just obviously goes into Salesforce.com, goes into the billing, they also get provisioned. Customer support inquiries logged and tracked in the normal manner. And what's interesting is the customer adoption and consumption changes in the SFTC. So if we are data freaks and we're automation and kind of integration freaks, but I'm not a dashboard guy because I just get frustrated by going to dashboards. Sorry, Salesforce.com. So what we do is we publish reports every morning at 6:15 in the morning, and we get summaries of the reports. And then from that, we write up a report every single day by 6:30 saying, this is what we believe is going on. These are the trends, these are the tracks, these are the top 5 customers that ordered overnight. These are the channels that are improving the consumption. These guys are decommitting on their archiving. These guys are decommitting on their mobile solution because they start to turn it off. So, we have that kind of visibility. And as we said, 86, 87% gross margin. We are at about 98% customer retention. So it's a kind of a freaky business, but when it's integrated, it's kind of funny. The other part of it, when the whole thing's done, it's integrated and everything else, it's so much less stress. Almost to the point, it's almost kind of boring to a point, because you can see these reports come out. You can actually start to see all the trends and everything else, and you go, all right, what do you do next? And then it becomes a product discussion with my engineering team. But that's all I had to say, really. I mean, we link both tools together. We execute as hard and as fast and as aggressive as we can to get new products to market. We integrate into everything that we do in order to make money, right? And as much of it as possible as we can without paying sales guys commission if I possibly can, and then away you go. Not that I'm against sales guys. Sorry, Kevin.
So I know you have all sat through a lot of presentations, and I want to thank everyone for coming. I wanted to leave a good amount of time today to ask questions. Please don't limit them to the material that we talked through today. So we have two guys who run very successful small businesses. I build and market products to very smart small businesses like yourselves. At this point, I'd just like to open it up for Q&A. Someone definitely wants to ask Tim about his 98% customer retention. Right?
When you're in the data.
Please do.
I don't know. My name is Doug Street. I'm from Philly. My specialty is B2B marketing and sales and doing partnerships. I was in San Francisco 2 years ago. I saw your Jigsaw product, and it was like the salesperson's B2B goals. So you have a great product. What's your strategy? You talked about community, and I think one of the opportunities Jigsaw could look at is the community of not the data, but the people in the community. Are you looking at any strategies regarding the community share information, ideas, best practices?
Yes. At another panel, I would have bored you guys to tears about all the really cool stuff that Jigsaw is doing.
Okay.
I wanted to keep it short and sweet today. We're doing two things. We are trying to extend the community and make it just that. We've made a significant investment in a community platform. And that's kind of becoming a big business. You've got Jive and Lithium and a whole bunch of very specialty partners. So we've made a big investment on that. And instead of just the Jigsaw community, we now have it's called The Corner, is what we call it. And it's the LinkedIn-like community where all of that actually collaboration amongst the million members happens at a much deeper level. Because with Jigsaw.com, the first 5 years, it is a community. It's a tight one. But the interaction has been more with the data and not with each other, if that makes sense. And now we want those million people to interact with each other. And it'll be, the amount we will learn and the value to the community. And then we also, one thing I didn't touch about on is part of one of the products that I talked about with automated data management is we give our customers a really good price break if they will share the data. So instead of me just cleaning your rotten fish, if every time you make a change to rotten fish inside Salesforce, or you make an ad, and when I sync every night, I get to add that to the database. So I'm actually extending my community into his 2 million users going to 5. So both interaction with each other instead of just data, and then making via incentives CRM users in their native app part of my community too. Those are the two major ways in which we're extending the core concept, which has gotten us where we are the first 5 years.
Hey, another question too. I sent an email to your CEO. I have some specific sales ideas, especially on the small SMB marketplace. You guys are here. Who do I talk to? I have a specific idea that can help you guys possibly sell more through the channel. So
please, I'm Sean at Salesforce.com. So
I'll talk to you afterwards, and also talk to Member and Fowler. So, but great tool. Both of you guys are great tools. Very disruptive technologies, which
thank you.
It's nice to see the fortresses come down. Thank you.
One other point on actually the sort of network. One thing I've noticed about Jigsaw is that they have a very active community. So just like Google and eBay kind of revolutionized hooking up buyers and sellers, they have kind of a self-sustaining economy. Jigsaw does too. So it's kind of like Wikipedia. I call them the Wikipedia of data to explain it to people. Is that people are actively cleaning the data because sort of it's in their nature to actually clean the data. Something that's wrong, they want to make it right. And what they've done sort of with their points economy, people actually are going out and they're finding data and they're adding data and they're pulling data down. And over time, what they've done is they've built a massive community of very active users that all have kind of similar interests. So that's something I think is an extremely powerful foundation that they can grow on. And I think that you'll probably see a lot of things coming out of Jigsaw that's based on this database of self-cleaning community members. So, what other questions?
It's actually live now. I get my next, I've burned through all of my marketing budget for 2009, so I don't have a penny left. Spend it all with Sean. So, we are going to, you will actually see a major push from Jigsaw on The Corner, which is this community interacting with each other instead of just with the data, starting in January of 2010. We're going to get very noisy about it next year. Garth is going to blog on it. We're going to put Garth on a road show and make that talented little presenter hit about 50 cities and talk about it because he's kind of the figurehead of it. And he's kind of the spiritual leader of the community. So, Garth's going to be busy next year. He's going to put a lot of air miles in out pimping this thing.
How many of you out there are from companies that are under 10 people? A couple of you. How about companies between 10 and 50? Is there anyone in here who has companies over 100? A couple of you. Okay, interesting. That's always the interesting thing about Salesforce is you never know who your audience is going to be. We have the largest of the enterprise, and we have some of the smallest smallest companies as well. So the nice thing is there's a lot of things that apply to everybody. But is there any other questions on what we're talking about today, or anything else?
Hi, I'm just curious to find out what you don't run on Salesforce inside your business and why, and how quickly you're moving or not onto the Force.com platform.
Yeah, it's interesting. The one that we don't is fine. It's a QuickBooks. So we extract everything from our billing system and from Salesforce, and we whack it into QuickBooks right now. And that's okay. I think the challenge we have is the data as it comes out to the feed that we have into QuickBooks needs a little bit manipulation. And because what you have, obviously in our business, is you have people that start mid-month, right? So they come on the 12th, and they turn on their service, and then they improve their service halfway through the month, and you've got revenue recognition stuff that's kind of crazy. So that's one piece. And then, on like if you like the business or commercial side, and the piece that we don't is, our network operations. We process about 10 billion messages a month, and so that infrastructure is running completely separately.
Almost the exact same for us. We use NetSuite instead of QuickBooks for finance. So for the first 5 years, other than finance, everything else has actually gone on to Salesforce. It really is kind of the system. And now we're heading a little, we're kind of on our way to 200 employees, a couple thousand customers, a couple million members. Only now, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do this and sink the money into it until you get to a size where it makes sense. But we'll actually probably from a data warehousing and then a true BI and analytics solution. We're out looking at the big guys like a Cognos or a MicroStrategy or somebody like that. But with that, and that's only now that we've hit 200 employees. Don't do it. It's not worth the money until we've used Salesforce for BI and analytics up until now, and it's only in year 7 after a lot of revenue growth that we've decided to go out there for next year. But for the first 6 years of the company, literally everything except for QuickBooks, we upgraded to NetSuite a couple years ago, and Salesforce ran everything else. And we're actively looking at Force on a couple of different, both internal applications as well as customer-facing. We haven't made any decisions yet, but we're exploring it pretty aggressively.
Yeah, one of the things that's, I think, a little bit different about Salesforce than companies I've worked with in the past is actually we don't try to do everything, despite what Mark might say. We don't do everything, but most of the transactions that happen in our data center are through the API. The first API we ever built still works. We'll always support it. And on the platform side, we would rather people build in the cloud than use on-premise software. So companies that like EC2 from Amazon, Facebook Connect, Twitter. Even Microsoft Azure and Google App Engine. One of the first things we do when these cloud platforms emerge is we build toolkits. So Force.com developers, when they build, if Force.com doesn't suit them for app dev, then they can build on these other platforms, and we build toolkits and utilities to make the apps that you build on Force.com interoperable with those other cloud computing platforms. And at the application level, also, we always build very secure, scalable APIs that are easy to use and will always work and are always fast and are always up. So we realize that you're not going to get everything from Salesforce. So we know that.
And just everything that we do outside, we make sure it can integrate with Salesforce and do it immediately. Otherwise, we won't buy it. Yeah.
Kevin, a longtime user of Jigsaw. It's a great product. Just a question about levels of validation. Obviously, data quality being primary for your business. You're relying on the community to be that proactive person to actively update that information. I was wondering if there's other levels of validation that you go through, and if not, is that something that's being planned for the future?
Yeah, there are. But they all are going to kind of follow a theme, which is automation and not body related. So growing the community and making it more active is always going to be mission number one, because they truly do. 1 million people that live, breathe, and eat prospecting or recruiting or marketing are always going to be the best data hygiene engines, period. We have developed a lot of what I just call data hygiene IP. So a lot of technologies, for instance, I now know bogus input, when I see it a lot. So that Fred Flintstone stuff, we've had 5 years of watching garbage come in and knowing how to flush it out. We automatically go ping domains, so when somebody tries to put in an email, I go out and I do an SMTP handshake to see if it's a live domain, and if not, I'll kick it out. Pinging a company called Targus Info, which is one of the most accurate phone databases in the world, doing a real-time ping to see if this is a bogus phone number or not, and if so, take the user through another step. So there's a whole bunch of data hygiene IP, and then we have what we call, we're big on cartoon characters. Did you guys, anybody see Puzzle Master walking around? The guy in the tights? Did you guys see him? It's kind of scary. It's a little traumatic, isn't it? Yeah. Puzzle Master is one of our 6 superheroes of data quality, and they're all IP. And another one we call Reaper. And Reaper knows. So, for instance, when we had a huge spike, and go figure, all of a sudden, in the data set, financial services contacts at executive levels in companies over $1 billion in revenue in area code 212 started dropping like flies, right? You know why, right? Because of the banking thing that happened, right, this year. And that reflected immediately, in our database because the community tracks that. And that's just one simple example of where Reaper will go say, oh, you know what, now that's a category of data that is more likely, to be bad, and therefore takes, things through a couple steps. So there's a lot of smart intelligence there goes there. And then the third one we talked about is all this native in-app sharing. Mm-hmm. So every single time I price and send somebody to actually do the sharing with our Data Fusion product so that I'm capturing all those changes they make in Salesforce, not just what they make in Jigsaw. That's the third torpedo in the water, if you will. So the community, these technologies like Puzzle Master and Reaper, and the real-time domain pinger and the validation, and then the native in-app sharing with CRM systems are kind of the three bullets that we use for validation. And we're not perfect. If you guys know the data business, it's impossible to have perfect data. If anybody tells you they have it, they either don't understand or they're not being truthful. But we are far better than our traditional competitors, that are those big billion to $3 billion because of all that technology.
Thanks for explaining that.
Okay, you're welcome.
You didn't have a cartoon character for the Reaper, did you?
No, we didn't have Reaper. Reaper kind of looks like more Vampira, so we thought that'd be a little too racy.
What other questions do we have today? Tom Martinez, do you have any questions back there? All right. It is definitely a Dreamforce Friday. Well, I tell you what, I think we'll wrap up then and give you 10 minutes back of your day. If you guys do come up with any other questions, please feel free to send it to me. Again, it's SEAN, Sean@salesforce.com. I had to buy a lot of beer to get that email address, so please use it. And thanks a lot for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, everyone.